Now, Lindsay, Lindsay, I want to back up for just a moment. And again, just let listeners know, the new information is coming up. There's new information that deals with how this is going to be played off against the U.S., how China's involved, what the elite have told you the role for the United States is going to be in this. We can already see this in their admitted globalist plans, but this is directly relating to what's happening now in the Middle East that you predicted from your sources in October of last year, 4 months ago, on this show. And so the really big bombshells are coming up, but it's important for people to have the foundation. Please continue.
Yes, you're exactly right. All of this fits into the total picture of China, where Mr. Fromm told me before he passed away, he said, China is the big one. Keep your eyes on that.
But now the other sources filled that in for you.
Yes, the other sources just filled this in for me. I think the bombshell at this point that folks you definitely need to jot down is once they get that crude oil to the price of somewhere around $200 a barrel, at that point they will have created so much chaos in the Middle East. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, Libya, Tripoli, the capital building in Tripoli in Libya is burning right now, this moment, as we speak. In fact, this morning, Iranian warships went through the Suez Canal. Egypt finally gave them permission right now as this program is going on. The latest information I've gotten this morning is that the Iranian warships are through. This is going to involve Israel. That part I don't even want to go into on the program because it would be a program within itself. But once
Lindsay, we got time. Stay there. But we're going to discuss this entire strategic program and the next steps in it and where it's going to lead us if we don't expose this system. This is the end of America as we know it if they're able to do this. Now remember, Lindsey Williams, 6 months before oil 3 years ago, went from $50 a barrel roughly to upwards of $150, said it was going to happen and named dates. We got similar intel out of Bilderberg that year. Then Lindsey said, now it will go down to 40. It did go to 40. People laughed at him when he said it. Went from 150 to below 40. Then he said for the next 2 years, it will only gradually go back up. But then he said in 2 years, and that was 2 years ago, then watch for things to happen. Then he was told when the Middle East starts blowing up, get ready, but then watch China. Now he's been given the full plan, which again, when I hear it, it's there. It's confirmed separately through research, but this is from insiders. Now, he said this 4 months ago. Last night he briefed me on this. Now today, in fact, I had the articles out there during the break. Here it is. We'll put them on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. They're up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Medvedev, revolutions could lead to disintegration of Middle East. PrisonPlanet.com. That's also in AFP today. Medvedev warns fanatics will take over Middle East. See, they don't so much run the fanatics. They spurred them on, helped them. Google admits that they were involved in all of it, the State Department, and they're just going to let them run wild and go crazy. But it's not just so that the oil gets disrupted, so they can now, and that's what, this is the big one, that because I've got 3 pages of notes, Lindsay told me last night, that they're going to cheat the Arabs and stop doing the deal where they don't allow production of the big wells here in the U.S., not just Alaska. So it's not just that they're going to be in so much turmoil. That's going to be the excuse, and then they're going to cheat the Arabs on that deal. Then they're going to stop buying the T-bills, and that's going to further kill the dollar. And that's the biggest one, is that they are planning to kill the dollar, and he's been given the time frame on all of this. That's the big, new, giant information, not from Ken Fromm, told him similar things before he died, from the other Mr. X, who was an actual CEO of the Big Three. Please continue, Lindsay.
I had no way of knowing any of this. Let me be very frank and upfront with your listening audience. I was a mere missionary flying airplanes out in the bush of Alaska at the time they said they were going to build the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. The oil companies allowed me as a chaplain, later gave me executive status. I sat in the board meetings and lived with the elite of the world for 3 years' time. I could have never known any of the things that Alex has just mentioned had it not been the providence of God. It gave me favor with 2 of these individuals who are of the elitist of the world, and they in turn has given me information over these 35 years, and the latest one, who is still alive but yet retired, still gives me information. And when Alex called on yesterday, his producer, I said, here's what I've just gotten hours ago, and that is just what Alex said. They are going to they're going to cross the Arabs. The Arabs will lose what they've put in our T-bills. The dollar is going to plummet. And I've given the time date. This was given to me. Please put it down on your calendar. By the end of 2012, the dollar will be dead. At the same time, all of these T-bills, securities, Federal Reserve notes that the oil-producing countries of the Middle East in particular, under the agreement by Mr. Henry Kissinger way back 1977 through 81, the agreement that was made, all of this millions and billions of dollars that they have put into American paper will be lost overnight at the time that they are going to plummet the dollar. This means that we will not be getting Arab oil. Folks, I hope you're getting this. I hope it's sinking through. You will not be getting oil from the Middle East at the time this happens because they will be enraged with us, plus the fact of the Muslim Brotherhood going nation after nation after nation, as it did in Egypt, as it's doing in Libya. It's going to go from one nation to the other: Jordan, Tunisia, Turkey, Kuwait, Yemen, Saudi Arabia,
Morocco.
And when it hits Saudi Arabia, this is one of America's major oil supplies. At that point, you will have gasoline at the gas pump, $67.
Stay there. Back in 1 minute. Lindsay, some of our AM and FM affiliates do not carry this little 5-minute segment, but a lot of stations don't want to carry news. They want to have this segment filled, so I do it over the years. But I don't want you to get into what you were told about the Middle East, the rioting. It's admittedly engineered. What that's going to lead to, the double crossing of the Arabs, and then what's going to happen with China, the big announcement, what's going to happen in the U.S., what it's going to do to the dollar from your source until we come back in the next segment. In this segment, I wanted to talk to you and just have you, for new listeners, recap the last 3.5 years of stunningly accurate predictions that Mr. Fromm and the other gentleman, Mr. L, I'll leave it at that, have told you. Because I remember you said, yeah, the Middle East is going to be a diversion. It's going to trigger something bigger. I said, is it war? They just said, no, it'll be turmoil. I mean, so they told you that. Now you see it triggered. It's admitted the globalists have triggered it. People are like, well, these are dictators. Aren't you glad? The point is, why are the globalists triggering it? We're going to get into that and through all the key info coming up in the next segment. But recap what Mr. Fromm and the other gentleman told you in the last 3.5 years.
So that you know, your listening audience out there, Alex, that the elite know all of this in advance. Every bit of it is planned behind closed doors. I had no way of knowing this. I'll give you a few of the key pointers. 3 years ago, I was called on the phone by one of my elitist friends, and he said to me very casually, he said, Chaplain, the price of crude oil is going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. Everybody that played the futures, everyone that had any prognostic notice, idea whatsoever.
No, first you said it was going from 50 to 150. Then you said it was going to go back down to 40, and it did.
Yes, but everybody was saying it was going to 200. Even I myself was predicting that, even though I had not been told it. He said to me on the phone, it's going to from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel within 2 months' time. It went actually to $134 a barrel, and I knew that my reputation was at stake. Alex was bold enough. And folks, listen, Alex Jones will put things on that nobody else will put on. There was some talk show host that wouldn't even allow me on their show to say it. They thought it was so ridiculous and outlandish. But I knew that they've never told me anything wrong in 35 years. And I said, Alex, I'd like to come on your show and tell the people that it's going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. Alex allowed me on his show to say it, even though people laughed at me. And some of you are laughing at me out there in the audience right now. Just keep right on laughing because you laugh last. I know what's going to happen between now and the end of 2012, and I hope you have sense enough to listen to me and to listen to everything that Alex is telling you because the elite have it in plan. So it did exactly what he said. Exactly. 2 months later, it went to $1.50 a gallon at the gas pump. It went to $1.34 a gallon. Then, at the same time, he told me and you keep watch this now, you'll see it happen. He said the price of crude oil for the next 2 to 2.5 years is going to stay between $70 and $80 a barrel. Everybody again thought I was crazy, but I wasn't the one that said it. The elitists told me that, and it did. It stayed exactly that. Then I told you when it was going to start going back up again. Just about 3 to 4 months ago, I came on Alex's show, and I said, I have been told there's going to be a crisis in the Middle East. Now, folks, please listen to my wording. I did not say there was going to be a war with Iran. Alex, you remember me saying that?
No, it's on record. You said it's going to be a crisis. I
said just what they told me. I said there is going to be a crisis in the Middle East. They did not tell me it would be Egypt, and I didn't say Iran.
Okay, Lindsay, stop
Egypt.
there. We got to go to break. Let's come back where you left off, because that's perfect. In the segment before last, you left off there. Now you left off there again. Let's come back with the full audience and have you recap the purposeful destabilization of the Middle East, the plan to cheat the Arabs, and then the big developments in China and the U.S., the dollar, all of it. The big bombshell coming up next. We're going to lay out the future globalist program. Okay, thank you for joining us. Pastor Lindsey Williams worked in the board meetings with Atlantic Richfield and in meetings with other top oil companies. Just like in Congress or on an aircraft carrier, the chaplain is like an intermediary and was able to see all this. He wrote a book about it. Since then, 30 years later, everything in that book, The Energy Non-Crisis, is now out in the open. That they could have dozens of pipelines coming out of Alaska, supplying the entire United States for over 100 years. It's easily recoverable oil. It's there. They kept it. Now, since then, he has these two sources, one a former CEO, and I know for new listeners been listening the whole time here, like we've already heard this. I'm recapping for new listeners. People are tuning in, in and out constantly. Then, starting about 3.5 years ago, Ken Fromm and the other fellow started telling him basically the same information, that oil would go from $50 a barrel up to $150. Then people thought it would go to 200. His source said, no, now it's going to plunge down to 40. It went below 40, like 32, I saw it. Then he said for 2 years, it's going to be basically just gradually going up slowly. Enjoy yourselves. Go out and have plenty of gas. But in 2 years, get ready. We're now 2 years later. 4 months ago, Lindsay says they're going to have a crisis in the Middle East. And I said, war? He said, no, my sources just said it's going to be in turmoil, but that is a trigger and a distraction from China. Watch it. It's the big one. But they didn't go further. Now Mr. Fromm has died. The other source, it has gone all the way with the entire plan. And we can see the plan of deindustrialization, moving all the jobs to China. China in the news today, secretly pressuring the U.S. government as holders of our debt to allow them to buy up U.S. companies and block SEC corruption probes and antitrust issues. This is about the globalists teaming up with China and muscling out the U.S. This is about the designed decline of the U.S., and Lindsay's going to lay it all out now. Lindsay, let's start back at the Middle East, the plan program there, that's admitted, where this is going, how it's going to unfold. You have the floor for the next 10 minutes.
The standard currency of the world is crude oil. Please write this down in your notes, and I hope you have a pencil and paper and you're taking notes today, and you'll put it beside your calendar, because barring divine intervention, the elite will do what you're about to hear. The standard currency of the world is crude oil. It is not the dollar. It's not the euro. It's not the yuan. It's not the pound. It's crude oil. Crude oil. Please put it down. It's the most important object out there. The Muslim Brotherhood are being supported by the elite of the world who have the crude oil in the palm of their hand. Please note this. What you saw happen in Egypt, what's happening right now in Libya, what is taking place in the United Arab Emirates, is going to spread throughout the entire Arab world. Most all of OPEC. Now, OPEC includes a few other nations beside the Arab world. But all over the Arab world, it's going to continue because they are being supported by the elite of the world. The elite of the world plan to double-cross the Arabs. I hope you've never heard this anywhere before. This will be so new to you until I'm sure you're going to be startled, as you have by many of the other things that these people have told me. Please note again, the Arab world, the Middle East in particular, OPEC in general, are going to be double-crossed by the elite of the world. And if any of the Arabs out there are listening to me, I hope your princes, your sheikhs and your sheiks and the people of those countries will listen to you, because 70 years ago you were nothing but nomads, roaming the deserts riding camels. You're going back to that again.